Welcome. I'm Clark Korb, a holistic health practitioner offering some pragmatic insights to help you live a happier, more empowered life and embody your optimum potential. Today's episode is a response to an audience request for more specific practices relating to helping improve one's ability to focus. So, why is focus important? Focus has been a theme I've really incorporated indirectly among several past videos. For most of us, I think we can agree that it improves productivity, measured in both the quality and quantity of work output for a given amount of time. And improved focus also helps the efficiency, meaning the amount of time or resources that we consume to complete a given task. In the past, I've also pointed out that improving your focus helps you improve the ability to be present in relationship to other people or circumstances in your environment. I'll leave a link in the description below to a video on the gift of presence that I went into detail on that particular facet. And further, your ability to focus helps enhance your ability to allow in more joy. And I did a video on letting in joy specifically around that. Again, I'll leave a link in the description below. If you haven't checked that one out, please do so. So, to accommodate the audience request, I will share some of my suggestions that have helped me improve my focus and productivity over the past decades. First and foremost, I think it's critical to establish a clear internal environment. You could consider starting a new task or a focus block of work time to be like an interruption of your prior state. And to that end, I did a video on benefiting from interruptions, and I won't go into detail rehashing all of that here, but the goal is to set up a routine that you use to respond to interruptions or to create a context switch. And in this case, you're switching into a context of focused work. And in that video, I recommended establishing some sort of routine that you go through to help you deal with interruptions and be able to clear out what's going on for you and be able to restore yourself to a productive work state. And in doing so, it's important to address the physical and emotional and mental components of your well-being. Don't just skip right to the mental. And some easy minimum go-tos to help generate kind of a physical reset or a physical clearing in this preparation for focus would include some kind of basic bodily movement, whether you go for a walk for 15 to 20 minutes, or maybe going up and down some staircases for a bit to get your heart rate up, doing some jumping jacks, maybe incorporating some light resistance band work. If you can keep a band at your desk, this is great not only for resetting your posture, but also getting the juices flowing in a little bit different manner, especially if you've been sitting at a desk for some time, doing some air squats or walking with high knees for a bit. It doesn't take a lot of time, but something just to get the blood pumping and your body moving in a different way. Again, I won't rehash what I covered in that video on benefiting from interruptions, but be sure not to overlook tending to your emotional well-being. If there's something kind of stirred up there, that likely is going to inhibit your ability to focus. And so I go through kind of a protocol for that. Be sure to check that out. And one tidbit I'll add here for a mental focus is to perform a mind sweep. This really allows you to temporarily remove anything that might be pulling your attention elsewhere and putting it into a trusted place where you can pick it up when you leave the either focus block of work time or meeting or whatever it is you're going into, whether that's capturing whatever's on your mind to a voice memo or to a notes application. And I really have become a fan of using a reminder app where I can just talk to my phone or my computer and say, remind me to call so-and-so when I leave this location or in X number of hours. Using any of these applications will really help you clear out any residual important stuff that's on your mind, and you've captured it in a system where you can come back to it once you finish your focused block of work. All right, now once you've cleared out the internal environment, I think it's important next to focus on the external environment. First off, this would be eliminating clutter around you. I believe it's very important to have a clear and well-defined, dedicated working space, whether it's an office, at home, or elsewhere, perhaps a creative studio or a workshop, your desktop area. It might even be a table at a coffee shop or an airport. Or depending on the work to be done, it might be a gym or your home gym setup. Whatever it is that's going to be your place of work, surround yourself only with the relevant tools and reference material needed to do the work. Decorations are great to provide for some comfort or aesthetic pleasure and maybe even inspiration, but I have heeded the caution not to let those decorations detract from the intention of the created space, which is to work. Beyond setting up the space for your work, it's important to minimize or eliminate, if possible, all external distractions. Make use of the wonderful modes that our devices have these days, where you can set a focus mode to do not disturb so that your phone or your tablet or your computer are not pinging you with notifications or having a phone ring in the middle of doing your work. It's also helpful to remove items of unwanted visual stimulation. So turning off any screen or avoiding having any screen in your line of sight, which is not a part of the tool set for completing your work. If you're using a phone or a computer, close all applications not directly related to the task at hand. And if you're in a public space like a coffee shop or an airport, pick a seat facing a wall so that you minimize people watching or other environmental distractions. And where appropriate, I believe it's incredibly helpful to use some sort of curated audio stimulation, as would best support whatever particular task and individual preference you have. If you happen to be setting up shop in an environment that you cannot control, I would strongly recommend spending the money on some adaptive noise canceling headphones or earbuds. I believe it's well worth the cost for an almost spooky level of noise isolation and quietness. In addition to keeping the noise down as much as you can, whatever that is for your environment, you also might find it helpful to use music of some sort. For my personal tastes, if I'm working on anything relating to number crunching or writing or more analytical thinking and planning, I can't listen to any music that has lyrics. It's far too distracting. I sometimes can listen to instrumental music if it's of a slow to a moderate tempo, depending on your music streaming service of choice. I know I've been able to find some playlists that have been pretty thoughtfully designed that help support music for study or music for concentration that are either pulling from jazz or pulling from classical genres. In my practice where I work with clients doing body work, I tend to employ a variety of music that has been very supportive for session work. And just as music helps people dance, it's been my observation that music also helps facilitate shifting in the body toward a productive end. So, and of course, all of this is metered so long as it accommodates clients' tastes and preferences. And if I'm doing some other task like driving on a long road trip or working out or performing domestic chores, which require that I be alert and focused, but with less intensive mental engagement, I find either podcasts or energetic music to be beneficial to prevent mental drifting or kind of zoning out. Now, if listening to music of any kind, or if the uncontrollable nature of your environment is too distracting audibly for you, you may want to consider using white or pink noise sources. Again, I would recommend checking out the options for that from your streaming service of choice. So now that you've set up a clear internal environment within your being, and you've set up a clear external environment, the last step is to organize your attention and your execution steps. There's a famous quotation, I believe it's credited to Napoleon Hill, of plan your work and work your plan. This certainly isn't a new concept from any productivity expert, and I'm not going to offer anything ultra groundbreaking here myself. I will offer a few distinctions that I think are helpful. So, in one of the healing modalities that I've studied is called spiritual response therapy, and there is literally a step in that called prepare to work or prep to work. And there are some aspects in this preparing to work that I believe are universally applicable no matter what kind of work we're doing. So first and foremost, ground yourself. I did a video on this a while back called Grounding, Finding Your Center. I'll put a link in that in the description below as well. After you've grounded yourself, set a clear intention for the desired outcome in the current time and space. So this could be whether you're creating an action plan for a project. Maybe you're just setting up an agenda or a list of questions for an upcoming meeting. Maybe you have time set aside that you're writing a number of pages for journaling or a creative exercise. Or maybe your project is you're getting in a cardio or resistance training workout in line with a larger plan for physical wellness that you've set up. And if you take that little bit of time to reevaluate a clear intention of what is truly my desired outcome for this block of time that I'm really looking to accomplish, that really helps lead right into designing or revisiting the thoughtful constraints applied to the work that is to be completed. I did a video on this where I go through how you create extra space via constraints, which almost sounds like a paradox. But really, this is a practice of clarifying your priorities, minimizing your deliverables where possible so that you're not spreading yourself too thinly, and perhaps even allowing yourself to delegate more work where it's possible. You streamline and simplify your work process and make better use of the time in production. So once you've reconnected to that core intention and perhaps cleaned up some constraints to help guide or streamline your work, it's important to allocate a block of time for actually completing the work. And I'd recommend using a calendar to schedule this work, treating the time as sacrosanct, just like you would any other appointment, and carving out a sufficiently large block of time for projects that require more focused creative work. And kind of ballpark here, but for me, it's been something that I need to have at least 4 or more hours allocated to something that is intensive and consuming of my critical focus and creative attention. And for a task that's larger than, say, 2 hours, be sure to account for those desired interruptions, as I spoke about earlier, to help keep you focused and refreshed and on task. And last but not least, I would set up a reward for completing time spent in focused production. This helps signal to your system a short-term incentive for keeping to the discipline of staying on track. I know all of this may sound like a lot of steps to complete, but it really does become stilled rather quickly once you determine what strategies work best for you and your individual situation. Clearing your internal environment becomes almost second nature as you practice more of that kind of interruption routine that I talked about on a regular basis, and it's helpful to use every day. And when you set up a fixed external environment like an office or a creative studio properly, that will pay handsome dividends over time and should require very little maintenance as a place for focused work. The last step of planning your work might seem like it's creating even more work, and initially it is, but it's well worth the result in terms of the better quality and more relevant work produced, and also the improved efficiency of time and energy that you're spending. I'm curious to know what steps that I've outlined here would be most helpful for you to implement in order to improve your focus. Or do you have other favorite tactics that help you improve your focus or that have benefited you over time? Let me know in the comments below. And if you know of anyone who may benefit from what I've shared here, please forward this video to them. If you found some value in what I've discussed today, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It's free, it only takes a moment, and it really helps support the growth of the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in.